For this project, I interviewed two women who were wheelchair bound. One, which I will call MF for purposes of anonymity, is a 30-year-old who has been in a wheelchair due to arthrogryposis her whole life. The other, referred to as HS, is a 37-year-old who has been in a wheelchair for about 6 months due to an undiagnosed illness. They both experience similar problems in restaurants. HS experiences the feet on the chair hit the center of the table of the person sitting across the table. Wheeling herself through the aisles, arms and wheels hit things. And at buffets and salad bars, she can't carry her own plate or tray, can't reach the food, and the counters of the trays are too high. Counters for the trays are too high. One, two. Counters for the tray are too high. MF, our lifelong wheelchair-bound person, has experienced all of that, but she also pointed out that most tables are too low or too high for the power wheelchair.
When eating out, most tables seem to be either too low or too high for my power wheelchair. Some public places like mall food courts and chain restaurants like Burger King and McDonald's have special tables now for people in wheelchairs that are just the right height. But most restaurants, including all the local small business mom and pop restaurants, don't have anything like this. I've noticed that over these last 4 years or so that the handicap stalls seem to be shrinking instead of remaining big. When the ADA was passed in 1990, most handicap stalls were the bare minimum in size calculations and measurements to accommodate a wheelchair. Over the years, throughout the 90s and the last decade, the size in the handicap stalls increased to accommodate different styles and sizes of wheelchairs and also those who needed assistance in the restroom with an attendant. But in recent years, I've noticed that in brand new restaurants and stores, that the amount of space inside of the stalls has seemed to decrease. I have just enough space to squeeze into the stall with my chair and not too much room to turn towards the handicap bar to stand up, and there isn't much room for an attendant. And taking my walker in with me to stand up is just plain useless. There's just not enough room. When people leave the changing table down, it takes up more space and makes it more difficult to maneuver. It is equally just as difficult when the strap or latch, which allows the changing table to fold back up and out of the way, is broken and the table won't stay upright and just remains in the way. Also, sometimes they install the toilet paper dispenser too close above the handicap bar, which makes it very difficult to stand up when you have this big plastic box jutting out into your face. I've noticed the same things about the sinks. The handicap sink may be high enough to fit a wheelchair under it, but the knobs are so far away that you'd need ape arms to reach them. I have noticed that people sometimes talk down to me like I'm a child, or if I'm with another adult, they'll direct their conversation or directions to the person that I'm with. People's attitude has improved over the years. It is much better than when I was a child or even a teenager. But there is still somewhat a stigma that if you're in a wheelchair and or have some sort of a physical disability, then you must also have a developmental, learning, and or emotional disability, or that you must be mentally incompetent as well somehow. Now I understand that there are people in wheelchairs with other kinds of disabilities as well, but my mind is sound and it really hurts when people just make assumptions. I also hate going to concerts and things where there are going to be large crowds because the mob mentality seems to be set in with a lot of people and people acting like I'm going to be in their way or hold them up, so they cut me off and or pretend I'm not there. If a place is standing room only, forget it. I won't be able to see a damn thing up on stage because of all the people in front of me, and I've gotten ignored a lot over the years. Middle and high school were the worst. Another thing that used to bother me when I was growing up is all of the little kids who would stare at me. It made me feel like a freak. Now that I'm an adult and I see a little kid staring at me, I'm not bothered by it as much, because now I know that kids are just naturally curious. Anywhere with a lot of mud, sand, or gravel, forget it. I'm doomed. My chair just sinks in, so I don't go to a lot of places with these kinds of environments.
The storm has affected all of us one way or another. Many of us are still cleaning up.
Even college campuses. But one student says it left her stranded at home. LEX 18's Jessica Reyes reports.
If you're a student, you know getting around college campus may be difficult with all this snow and ice that's left from that winter storm, but even more so if you're in a wheelchair. Megan Webb, A senior at Georgetown College was born with cerebral palsy, but that's never stopped her from going after her dreams. But after several inches of snow dumped on campus, she's felt her disability has slowed her down.
They have piled all the snow in the ramps to get to the buildings on campus when I have to cross the street.
Megan uses her wheelchair to get to class every day, something she's had a hard time doing for the past week, forcing her to miss several classes.
And if I get stuck, I have to sit in the cold till someone can come get me. And when it is too slick, I can't even get traction to get over.
So she's been staying home. A spokesperson for Georgetown College says they take the needs of their students very serious, and like everyone else, they're still cleaning up after the storm.
You wouldn't risk your car to get over a snow mound, and I'm not going to risk my wheelchair.
A message that's loud and clear. Covering the news in Scott County from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom, back to you.
Out of this interview, the top 10 recommendations that both of these women had were: number 1, ramps or elevators wherever there are stairs. Number 2, more automatic doors in public places. Number 3, wider bathroom stalls. Number 4, better handicap accessible sinks and faucets and soap dispensers, etc. Number 5, wider aisles in stores. Number 6, remove all obstacles from those aisles. Number 7, make items on shelves easier to reach, and create a paging system where people in wheelchairs could page and ask for assistance when no one else is around. Number 8, in large venues, create a safe viewing area for people who are in wheelchairs that is either up front or high in the rear or off to the side, so that those who are wheelchair bound can see over the heads of everyone else standing. Number 9, clearly mark all handicapped parking spaces, crosswalks, and curb cuts, and strictly enforce the fines and ticket anyone who blocks these things with their vehicles. And number 10, remove all snow from all public sidewalks and bus stops, and don't allow plows to push all the snow off onto the side and up onto the sidewalks when they're clearing the roads. Haul this snow into dump trucks and cart it off somewhere out of the way so that wheelchairs can get safe access. All of those recommendations can be generalized and applied to school environments. For example, we can provide more ramps and elevators. That's always good in any public place, especially schools. And all the doors in the school should be made automatic so that wheelchairs can make it through. Widening of the bathroom stalls in the schools would be good as well. Also in those bathrooms, all schools should make the sink, faucets, soap dispensers, paper towel dispensers, etc. within 4 feet of the floor, as the ADA recommends. The toilet paper dispensers should be below the handicap bar in the stalls so that they're easily accessible. Classrooms, offices, and libraries should widen their aisles to make it easy for wheelchairs to make it through. All handicapped spaces, crosswalks, curb cuts on school grounds should be clearly marked and policy strictly enforced with fines and tickets to anyone who blocks these things with their vehicles. All snow should be removed from all sidewalks and bus areas, and the snow should be removed off to the side so that wheelchairs can make it easily around. In all the school auditoriums, we should create a safe viewing area for people in the wheelchairs so that they can see and be safe. Attitudes should be addressed as well. Bullying, teasing, or mistreatment of the handicapped by other students should not be tolerated. And perhaps, finally, provide some sensitivity training for the other students so they know how to treat the handicapped both in school and out of school. This would change the treatment long term, and if the kids learn these skills in school, they may carry it over into adulthood. Here's a video clip that I found online of just such a program. Students were challenged to spend a week in a wheelchair, and they discovered that it was not as easy as they thought it might be. If we had programs like this in more schools, maybe these children would grow up to have a better attitude and understanding towards the handicapped. People in wheelchairs in the public and in school have many issues that you may not think about every day. But through understanding and some accommodations being made, we can certainly make life easier for them in school and perhaps even long term in life itself.